Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Bloomberg UK, a special focus on the biggest challenges facing the British government, the economy, financial services, and, of course, the markets. I'm Francine Lacqua here in London. Now, in focus this week, the landscape for Britain's startups and SMEs. The UK government has big plans for small businesses. They come in the form of a series of reforms announced by the Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, this week. So what's involved? Well, firstly, an agreement between 9 of Britain's largest pension providers to increase their investment in growth companies.
The Compact, which is a great personal triumph for the Lord Mayor, commits these DC funds, which represent about 2/3 of the UK's entire DC workplace market, to the objective of allocating at least 5% of their default funds to unlisted equities by 2030.
Well, the Chancellor has also pledged to help grow the base of listed companies on the London Stock Exchange after an IPO drought.
Between 1997 and 2019, there was a 44% decline in the number of domestic listed companies in the UK, part of a wider trend across Western markets, with the US and France seeing even steeper falls. I want the world's fastest growing companies to grow and list right here, making LSE not just Europe's NASDAQ, but much more.
So an ambitious plan, but is it achievable? Joining us now is Bloomberg City editor Catherine Griffiths and our senior UK economy reporter Phil Aldrich. So thank you both for joining us. We also have GDP in the UK, so we need to look at the context, of course, of some of these smaller companies in the wider economy. But it was a big week,
yes,
right, for a lot of these smaller companies. Will it make a meaningful difference?
It probably will make some difference. I think it's really open to question how much difference, but certainly these big pension funds, the big insurers that manage their money, have said they will put 5% of their funds, which could be £50 billion or maybe a bit more if they go further, into startups. I suppose the question then is which startups and at what level and what then happens. So lots of questions.
Yeah, do we know? I mean, it could bring in about 80 billion. But again, it's quite difficult. I mean, these are startups that you don't know if it's viable or not. So you don't know at what point you enter as an investment and whether you get anything back.
For sure. So I think their answer to that is, well, you know, if you have a big, wide group of startups that you have exposure to, then the hope would be that overall you'll make more money that way.
So the UK economy, stronger than expected. Overall, and this was a GDP figure that we got today, but it's tough actually for the Bank of England governor. We heard him on the financial stability. Phil, you extensively wrote also about these 4 million households that face a huge increase in mortgage payments.
Yeah, so the GDP numbers were better than expected, and the governor of the Bank of England has been saying the economy is more resilient than people had thought, and so that's been borne out in these numbers. At the same time, particular households are feeling quite a lot of pain. But the point on these households is there's half of the mortgage owning households, so about 4.5 million, have already remortgaged. There's 4 million still to remortgage. So this process of moving people onto higher rates and hitting their spending power is relatively slow, and this is sort of one of the problems that is meaning that the economy is proving to be more resilient. As the governor said yesterday quite clearly, effectively we are trying to inflict pain on households to get them to spend less so that we can bring inflation down. A slightly stronger than expected GDP print, and the fact that this pain is being fed through quite slowly is making it much harder for the bank to tackle inflation. I mean,
we also heard at still the Mansion House speech where Catherine was, the governor talk about inflation coming down more quickly than expected. Now, I don't know whether, Phil, when you take a step back, there's been so much negativity about the UK economy. Could inflation actually come down almost as quickly as it came up, or is that just wishful thinking?
So, it's definitely the case that the structure of the UK economy means that our inflation came through a little bit more slowly and is dropping away more slowly. And what we're seeing in America at the moment is the headline rate comes down, and as a result, sort of wage employees is then seeking less pay or lower pay rises. So you get this sort of second round effect on the way down, and that's what the governor was talking about in Mansion House, that you get this the headline rate drops, that's a good thing, but what you really need to do is get it out of the domestic wage setting part of the economy. But because people base their wage settlements on the headline rate, you then start to get it coming out of that. So he was saying it's going to fall markedly, but the main thing he wanted to get through, and I think the most important part, is that the headline rate falling markedly actually then leads to a sort of reduction in these kind of underlying pressures on wages to keep inflation higher. So that's what they're hopeful on, and we're seeing it happening over in the US. Are we going to see it here? Let's see.
The million-dollar question. And then the other $1,000,000,000,000 question is actually, how does this economy grow, right? If you look at what the plan for the government is, did you feel, Catherine, that you, and first of all, you were on the podcast and it was wonderful because we really got a kind of like an inside look at Mansion House, which is kind of, the UK pompous but also cooler, side of some of these events. But do they have a plan that will put them on a better footing in a couple of years?
I suppose their hope is that these startups of today, or actually the reality is not today, but in the next few years, become the bigger companies and the biggest companies of tomorrow and into the future. So the UK's 10 biggest companies were not created in the past 10, 20 years. They're old. So the whole idea is to try to find those big companies, mark international leaders of the future.
But at the same time, Phil, I guess what they need is to make sure that the housing market doesn't collapse, because the UK is so reliant on that. So where do small and medium-sized enterprises, where do they fit in this growth plan?
Well, this kind of growth plan very much fits in with what Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, what he's like. He's the Silicon Valley PM. He's a venture capital. He's the kind of venture capital chancellor. When he was chancellor, he put in place this sort of breakthrough future fund and the future fund to support startups before. So he and the chancellor now, Jeremy Hunt, always talks about the fact that we're the third biggest tech unicorn country in the world, and they basically definitely see the future of the economy built on life sciences, high tech, supercomputing, all this kind of stuff. And so that they. To get that part of the economy going, which you need this sort of venture capital style money. Where that fits in with house prices, they just got to make sure that ideally you just don't see that crash in the housing market that destroys sentiment, that then causes causes households to stop spending.
But the Prime Minister, and he was Chancellor before, just can't get these companies to list here, and that's a huge concern.
Yeah, it's a huge concern. I mean, of course, the high-profile example of Arm was a real knock to sentiment. But, what the Chancellor Jeremy Hunt talked about at the Mansion House was the declinists. He was very against the declinists. And there is a sense, I think, of people kind of being quite keen on that narrative of negativity. But, of course, to balance that, one has to look at the reality. So they really need to be able to start generating these concrete examples of investment going in and small companies becoming bigger companies. And of course, as you say, then them choosing to list in the UK.
All right, Catherine and Phil, thank you so much for joining us. Our city editor, Catherine Griffiths, and our senior UK economy reporter, Phil Aldrich. Now, coming up, we're joined by TickTock's general manager for Europe to discuss the business and its impact on SMEs and the wider economy. This is Bloomberg. Welcome back. Now, as the UK government tries to boost investment into growth companies, short video platform TickTock has published a new report saying SME marketing spend generated more than £1 billion in revenue last year. Now, joining us to discuss all of this is Rich Waterworth. He's TickTock's General Manager, Operations for Europe. But Rich, thank you for joining us. I mean, TickTock is getting a fair share of criticism, which we'll get to in a second. But this is a survey that basically also shows the benefits that TickTock does and social media in general for business owners. How do you quantify it?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. And we're really, really pleased to share this report from Oxford Economics. And to your question of how you quantify, the headline number is that the survey shows that £1.63 billion worth of GDP value in 2022 alone was being supported by small businesses on TikTok. So it's really a large number. We can see that it's growing quickly. TikTok has been around for 5 years. Only 5 years. We've grown to a user base of over 150 million users around Europe. And so we've been very lucky to grow quickly. And what we're seeing now is that businesses are tapping into that user base.
So, Rich, is that because it's an easier, cheaper way to get into the market than other platforms, than physical shops, or is it because you're doing something right?
Yeah, I mean, one of the keys to TickTock is that it really lowers the barriers to entry. It makes it very, very easy to produce content. You can shoot content using a phone, very easy editing tools within the TickTock app itself. So for a small business, that means you can create content about your product, about your brand in minutes, very, very quickly and easily. So it is a very, very quick and easy route to market and tapping into that very large audience on TikTok. And the key thing is that the algorithm on TikTok will recommend your content to other people who are interested in the products and services you're providing.
I imagine, social media is fickle. We've seen with Twitter, and I think 10 million users now of Threads. Do you worry that business model can go away almost as fast as it came if there's a new social media platform like Etsy was the big thing 5 years ago? We don't really talk about that anymore.
So as I say, TikTok's been around for 5 years. We've been very, very lucky to see great adoption of the product. The community's grown significantly, and we continue to see significant growth. I think the key for us is, can we continue to innovate and provide value for businesses and users? And that is what this report is showing. There's a great phrase in this report that I love, where it talks about TikTok as a signpost to the world. And what that is about people seeing goods and services, products, entertainment venues on TikTok and then going on to purchase them or visit those. It's very much an action-based experience.
So this is a live shopping, right? We're looking at some numbers. I mean, through Bloomberg reporting, I think you want to make that about a $20 billion business, which is huge. Does it work outside Asia, that business model?
Yeah, so there's a few ways that small businesses take advantage of the platform. Live shopping is one of them. Yep. So live streaming and being part of TikTok Shop, which is our in-app marketplace where you can sell goods directly. That absolutely works in the UK. We're seeing great success with that. Small businesses from all around the world. I bought products from a bakery in Aberystwyth in Wales this week who are live streaming on TikTok. You can buy the product directly, shipped to your house within 48 hours. So that experience works very well. But small businesses can also promote themselves using content, using advertising on TikTok. There are many routes to using the app.
What percentage of your advertisers are small and medium companies?
So it's a large percentage of advertisers. The exact number changes and varies over time. But small and medium-sized businesses, what we see in the report is that there are over 32,000 jobs supported around the UK from small SMBs using TikTok. Around 3/4 of those are outside of London. So it's very much a nationwide phenomenon. You asked earlier about lowering the barrier to entry. I think that is the key thing to understand. The other thing I think is really interesting here is that a high proportion of these businesses are coming from people who, less typically owning small businesses. So a lot of young business owners under the age of 30, and a lot of ethnic minority business owners, way above the national average.
But if you have a targeted ad, for example, from a small and medium company, do you worry that if people are not interested, it lowers the interest in your platform as a whole?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why the systems that we build are absolutely about targeting those ads in the right way.
So the algorithm is you're dependent on the
algorithm. Exactly. The recommendation algorithm. The experience on TikTok is called the For You feed. That is the feed of videos. That feed on TikTok is based on a content graph, not on a social graph. So what that means basically is if you've enjoyed watching Formula One content on TikTok, if you've enjoyed watching Wimbledon content, those are both big on TikTok right now, other kinds of sports content that will be related to that would be recommended to you. So it relates it to the content that you're interested in.
TikTok has also come under quite a lot of pressure. French lawmakers, giving you 6 months, I think, to fix some of the security concerns. A lot of parliaments have had questions. How much time do you spend trying to lobby governments or lobby some of the security concerns as opposed to actually growing the platform in Europe?
Yeah, I mean, look, we take safety and security, of our users, of our data, users' data, extremely seriously. It's a huge priority for us. And we make massive investments in that. We comply with all of those data security laws around Europe, but we've also committed to going well beyond those. So we've announced a project that we call Project Clover. That is a project specific to Europe, where we'll be appointing a third-party data assurance partner So that third party will audit and verify all of the processes and protocols we have around data
And governments
management.
are happy with that? Or are they still kind of pushing you for more?
So we're engaging with governments, explaining all of that, and we get a very good response when we explain that. The other thing that we're doing is we are opening data centers around Europe so that all European user data will be by default stored within Europe, which governments are very keen on and very happy with. So we're making those commitments, which are actually way beyond what the industry norms are, what our peer companies are doing, and so we're very, very focused on that.
Is that political pressure? And actually, if you look at the political landscape, I know the US also had a couple of things to say about TikTok, but is Europe the toughest market to get MPs and parliaments on board?
I think the whole technology industry is being held to high standards, and the European Union has been a very proactive regulator, and I think we've been very, very engaged with all of that. So we actually feel very proud to say, okay, let's look at what Europe is requesting and see where we can go above and beyond that. That's something we think is in the best interests of the industry. It's something we think we're equipped to do and will actually be a benefit, both to TikTok's users but also to the whole industry.
What percentage of your ad revenues are from Europe?
Well, so we don't disclose that specifically, but of course, Europe is an extremely...
Roughly? Can you give us a general idea?
We don't break it down in that way, but as you would expect, Europe is a really significant chunk of our ad revenue, just as it is for any kind of technology company in our sort of space. So it's a really, really important market for us and an exciting one.
Rich, how do big news events, so for example the riots in France, how do they drive adoption for TikTok?
Yeah, so people come to TikTok for all manner of things. They come for entertainment, they come for music, they come for sport, as I mentioned. They also do come to find out what's happening in the world around them. So people do consume, content related to what's happening in the news or what's happening in the world. So, that is part of the mix. But again, it very much depends on what you're interested in. If you are interested in that kind of thing, you would like to follow the news, you will get served that as part of your For You feed. If you're not, you'll get much less of it.
But is that like an extra 2 million, 200,000 adopters of TikTok when there's like a big news event? How can you quantify it?
I wouldn't necessarily put a number like that on it. It doesn't, change things that much. Okay. Again, it comes back to, I think the core user experience for TikTok is around entertainment, creativity, sport, music, all of these kind of things. So those kind of news events, probably not such a big impact on TikTok.
All right, Rich, thank you so much for joining us today. That was Rich Waterworth, General Manager Operations for Europe at TikTok. Now, coming up, we'll stick with tech and how the UK government reforms stack up as it tries to deliver the next Silicon Valley. This is Bloomberg. Economics, finance, politics. This is Bloomberg UK. I'm Francine Lacqua here in London. Now, we've just heard exclusively from TikTok on how the company is helping to drive growth in small companies across the UK. The question, of course, was also on some of the pressures from politicians. Let's discuss these claims and how it plays into the UK's government's efforts to support tech startups. Well, Bloomberg Quick Takes Alex Webb joins us now. Alex, thank you for joining us. I mean, if you look at TikTok, they've come under so much pressure from so many parliaments in Europe. Is there really an argument that says, look, this is good for small and medium-sized enterprises?
I mean, it's fascinating that basically this is their playbook because they're copying it straight from big tech in the US. When you see Meta, Google, Amazon in particular go up on Capitol Hill in defense of whatever the latest claim might be, they are adamant about, look at what we do for small businesses, i.e. they advertise on our platforms, they sell services and products through our platforms. That helps small businesses. Now, small businesses in the US are a way more potent political football than they are in this part of the world. Don't think people sit around the dinner table so much and talk about the plight of small businesses. They tend to do that a little bit more in the US. At the same time, it's also really good for their advertising business. When Facebook made a huge play 5, 6, 7 years ago to really go after small businesses, SMEs in the Midwest, that made their ad business way more resilient. When you had the big brands vetoing them, pulling their ads off Facebook, it barely affected the business at all because they have such a long tail of small businesses. There's a kicker to all this, though. If you have loads of small businesses advertising your platform, often the quality of the ads suffers. Right. And that's one of the reasons we've seen a bit of a flight of engagement away from Facebook and towards other platforms.
But so, Alex, let's say you have a small business, Web Incorporated. Like, where do you advertise or where do you try and get customers? Instagram is trying to also do a live shop, similar thing. Is it Etsy? Can you get onto Amazon?
So, I mean, look, historically it has been Facebook because you can, with great granularity, target people. Now, the way Facebook was able to do that was it scraped a huge amount of data from across the internet. That's become a lot harder because of GDPR and also because of moves taken by Apple to stop data sharing between different apps. If TikTok is now saying we can do that basically through knowing exactly what people are like from what they are swiping, what they're watching, that's really fascinating. It says a huge amount about the accuracy of their data business. The proof is going to be in the pudding. We haven't heard much data from small businesses, from business as a whole, building businesses on TikTok. This live shopping piece is fascinating. Bloomberg reported that they did 4 billion revenue last year. Live shopping is almost like QVC on your phone. People saying, buy this lipstick, you live streaming, you buy it right within the app. It's huge in Asia. Douyin, which is another business owned by TikTok's parent company, has really done well on this, as have other companies. It's never succeeded outside of the US. Instagram have tried it, Amazon tried it, YouTube tried it, not quite cracked it. The fact that they are now trying to grow that from 4 billion a year, that's gross merchandising revenue, to 20, huge. Requires the rest of the world. If they can do it, it'll be quite an achievement.
Alex, thanks so much, as always, for joining us. Alex Webb there from Quick Take. Now, Bloomberg Surveillance Early Edition is up next with Kriti Gupta in New York, Danny Berger in London. The focus will firmly be, of course, on the CPI numbers we got from the U.S. yesterday, what that means for future interest rate increases from the Fed and possible interest rate cuts. If you look at dollar, there's quite a lot of dollar move. And then the IEA also coming out with a report earlier this hour, cutting global oil demand outlook for 2023, as they think the economy is definitely slowing. This is Bloomberg.